Radio 94.5 FM. It's 6 minutes gone past 9. Today is Monday, the 3rd of August 2026. Good morning, parliamentarians. Welcome from.
Olasomba. Good morning, esteemed parliamentarians, and welcome to the month of August.
Yes, Happy New Month to you. Join us again this month of August to discuss critical socio-political issues in our country. We hope to continue to delve into these issues to cross-pollinate our divergent views and then, of course, help in nation building by being active citizens. All right, today on the Urban Parliament, we're asking you to bring your informed opinions as we again raise the issue of state police. Today we'll be discussing state police decentralizing security or decentralizing power, asking different questions. Does bringing policing closer to the citizens improve security really? Could state police become an instrument of intimidation of the opposition? All of the many concerns that people have raised with regards to state police, especially in, the wake of the recent threats of insecurity across the country. Yes, just as a reminder, right? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu formally transmitted the State Police Constitutional Amendment Bill to the National Assembly. It was received on the 23rd of June 2026. The bill was dated June 15, 2026 and was formally transmitted and read in the Senate on June 23rd. The bill seeks to amend the 1999 Constitution to create a framework for state police service operating alongside the Nigeria Police Force. The federal government to, still play a key role in some of the oversights over the state's police. The Senate passed the executive bill on the 24th of June. That's the following day after they received it, and the president subsequently transmitted the same executive proposal to the House of Representatives. That was on July 14th. So yes, if you followed us on the newspaper review program earlier this morning, you would hear, a couple of headlines that raise concerns about state police. We had a headline on the Sun newspaper where the Sharia Council warned against rushed constitutional amendments. They believe that there's to be, some slowing down and deep introspection into what this state police bill entails and how to implement it. According to them, and I quote, the council is deeply concerned by the apparent haste with which constitutional amendments of this far-reaching matter is pursued. So yes, we want to delve into this again, understanding state policing and knowing whether or not it's something that is being rushed as we see, the bill, constitutional alteration bill, as it has speedily passed through the National Assembly and, now down to the states, waiting for two-thirds of the state houses of assembly to okay the state police and it becomes a law. So yes, we will delve into the conversation this morning.
Professor Joe Okemenam joins us this morning. He's a United Nations expert on African development, a scholar and researcher, adjudicator, employment tribunals England and Wales, and he was the former chairman Enugu State Diaspora UK and Ireland, a professor of criminology. Good morning, Professor Joe. Glad to have you on today's session.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Prof. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Very many times we've, delved into this conversation on state police. Maybe I would first start with the concern raised by, the Sharia Council to know whether or not we share the same concern. The speed at which the state police bill has been pushed so far. Some school of thought believe that we need to take things more slowly to avoid mistakes. In terms of the legislative process, do you have concerns as to how speedily, the president has, pushed this bill, especially through the National Assembly? Do you have any concerns? Do you think that there needs to be more consultation and input from maybe civil society organizations and people?
Good morning. Starting from the last comment you made, there's always a requirement for more input, particularly from the civil society, because they are the third arm of a civil operation. I mean, you have the central government or the governments as one, then you have the business sector as two, then you have the civil society as three. So those are the three main pillars that actually hold a functioning um, society. Then moving on to the other point you make about the Sharia making their comments, they're entitled to their point of view.
Yeah.
But how serious we all need to take them is another matter. I mean, these are people who have argued successfully for a parallel court jurisdictions to operate along the side of the main judicial system which the country operates in. Now, the Sharia court can sentence you without you having an appeal to the mainstream court. They've had their share.
Mm.
So any comments they want to make should be tempered, with a bit of cautious in terms of what actually are they trying to argue. For example, how can you say it is rushed? What does rushed mean? 2 months, 1 week, 2 years?
Yeah.
Put figure on it so that we can understand your argument. This white brush approach to say, oh, it was rushed. Tell us which code, which aspect of the policing system. I'm not speaking in justification for the policing bill yet. I'm just talking about the comments and the approach of the Sharia
Council.
group,
Yeah.
trying to slow things down. Possibly they may have other points they have not told us about, which they want to either bring in or remove. Remember, in this political system and warfare we are in Nigeria, you will take most pressure point comments with a pinch of salt and interrogate it a bit more to see what are the sinister moves into it. We are yet to know the full details of this policing bill. What does it entail and what does it not entail before people can rush in and start saying it is too early. So I think their comment is premature.
Okay, but there are things that make it obviously look like it's been rushed. Like I read out in the beginning, on the 23rd of June, that's when the Senate received that bill from the president, and then on the 24th, they had already passed the bill. Doesn't that seem rushed to you? Do you think that due deliberations were done under 24 hours to, have all of the loose ends that might need to be tidied up before passing it down to the state houses of assembly?
Well, it has to have infringed a particular protocol before you can qualify it as rushed. If the protocol has allowed, then we cannot keep going back to question every is made.
Okay.
So we cannot speak like that and we cannot argue for that unless we are concrete and we can show that it has missed the goalpost. You understand?
Okay, from the details of the law or the bill itself, if we show that he has missed some, very particular things that he should have incorporated, that's the only time you would have a problem with it, not the time frame at which the lawmakers decided to look at it.
Well, look at the way in the process by which those bills get enacted. It goes through a process. It goes through a consultation. You can criticize the consultation and say that it was not robust enough to capture all opinions and all key instruments. Then it goes into other stages. At these stages, if it has grasshopped any particular system, that is when you can say it is rushed. Not when you're doing 100 meters and somebody does it under 9 seconds. You say the person rushed it. No, it is open. If they, in their process, have said that no bill should be captured or decided upon within 24 hours, then we can all raise up and say, hey, you made a mistake here. But if it is within the process, what they have done is what you have asked them to do, what they are entitled to do.
But the question here is this, because we've seen a lot of discrepancies with with the National Assembly, especially when it concerns budgets. They said that there are some things that wasn't looked at. Now, that's where this question is coming from. Isn't the Senate or the National Assembly supposed to have calmed down, looked at clause by clause, what we call clause by clause considerations, before you can now assent to this, because we know how critical this state police bill is important, especially in tackling our insecurity issues. So that's where the question is coming from. Aren't the National Assembly supposed to have taken time to scrutinize the entire thing that is contained in this bill before now possibly held to the state houses of assembly?
You have no evidence they didn't do that. Remember, they could have been involved from the inception of the debate, of the argument. What you're asking is to have two bites to a cherry. They may have been involved in the construction of the concept, in deliberation. Now you're talking about the final document being in front of them. They may have been sent a draft copy before that. Usually,
They may have.
they may have. Usually,
So
it
there's
is
a
done.
probability.
Now, a probability, usually, practice, you send people copies before the final draft arrives to your point. However, the key point here is that they have done what they are entitled to do. They have done what you and I have instructed them to do. Not when you have number 10 a player in football and he scores goal and you said, no, you scored it the way I didn't like you to score it. So we have to be debate, 100% agreement.
All right, Prof. So do you think, your own opinion is what I want to get now, the security situation in the country
Or the
hurriedly done? You
No,
know,
it's-
the state police
But
being
they would
established.
argue that it's
Yeah.
on how do we manage these things better. There's no perfect society. So the government has to come up with tools, instruments, strategies to address key issues. One thing most of us seem to agree, is that the level of insecurity in Nigeria is unacceptable. Then what do we do about it? We all disagree. So how can we agree there's a problem? We all disagree on what to do about
Solution.
it. Exactly. So this is unattainable, and this is where leadership comes in. A leader will say, okay, we all agree there's a problem. Give me the solution. And everyone washes their hand off. And while you're doing that, the society is suffering from insecurity. So something has to be done. This particular thing has never been done in Nigeria. So it is rushed, to use your word, to say to say what the outcome will be, or whether it may turn out nicely. You don't know. We have not tested it. What people like me will say is, we have been trying all sorts of security systems in this country, and yet our perception of insecurity as it is today is so high and frightening and disappointing. Let's try something new, whatever.
Whatever. No matter if it might have,
It might not.
1% chance of
It might not.
being the end of Nigeria, maybe.
But when it comes to desperate situation, you take desperate measures. You come to a situation that, with the level of insecurity that is in the country, any dream will do. We have to do something. We cannot continue. They say that you continue to whisper, and a deaf person will hear what you're whispering. Somebody who's deaf would figure out the argument you guys are having whispering. So delay is dangerous. What we need to concentrate on is, how do we fine-tune that instrument that has now been presented to us, to make sure that it delivers what you want to, what other critics are saying that are the loopholes in it. It is at the delivery point that we need to come in now, or get prepared to roll our sleeves off, get involved with it, because unless you are involved in a system, you cannot change it. You cannot make it effective. Okay? You cannot just, again, I come back to football, because we used to play football with the police college, and they kick the ball up in the air, expect the wind to take it into the net. It doesn't work. You have to be aiming at it. You have to be strategic at it. You understand? And this is something we are not doing very often. The president, I'm not arguing for him or whatever, also increased the military divisions.
Yeah.
It's also a security strategy. We have not seen it work, and we are already up in arms, criticizing left, right, and center, and yet we don't have alternative.
All right, Professor. Okay, and then from the bullet points here, there's here listed earlier. There's this question of, is it about decentralizing security or decentralizing power? I'm asking this question because the Sharia Council had actually said that Nigeria's security failure stems from inadequate funding, corruption, insufficient personnel, poor welfare for security operatives, weak intelligence, obsolete equipment, and ineffective coordination. So the question here is it about decentralizing security or decentralizing power?
Well, they could say what they want to say. You've mentioned 10 points or about, and the other opposition side of it will say to you, add this as 11 points. And there's nothing, they are not mutually exclusive. What they have pointed out is key, and I agree with it completely.
Okay.
And that needs to be dealt with. But that does not negate the action that is being taken on that. If we want to debate the issue of state police, let us bring it out and analyze it and deal with it. Those things they have measured are the measuring indicators to see the functionality of the security instruments we have. You can lay the same argument if the church was to become the security instrument. You can pinpoint all those things. If the family was to become, you can ask those questions.
But they're saying that if these challenges are not addressed, it will not make security
Absolutely,
to
the
disappear
same thing.
merely by transferring the state police powers to the states.
No, they have not said if they're only transferring security power without uh, teeth, biting teeth, without powers, without resources, without intelligence, without training, which are all the ingredients of any transfer of power. For example, what does this uh, uh, state policing mean? State policing does not replace the federal policing. The state policing carries all the tenets, all the instruments, all the departments which the um, policing has. So if you want to address these issues they have mentioned, yes, you can address it within the state policing apparatus. You still continue to address it within the federal apparatus. One missing gap is somebody needs to tell us where the state policing and the federal policing come together and the power dynamics.
There should be a meeting point.
There has to be a meeting point, and who's superior to who? Because it's power you're talking about. There has to be a power level in which it is cascaded up or cascaded down for control reasons. Because if you think about the name of the police, it used to be police force.
Yeah, it's going to be a police service.
Exactly. Police service is just sociologists trying to rub oil on the wound. But it is police force. It is police power. Because they have immense power. They can take your life. Do you know that police force are statutorily entitled to kill? It is part of their job description. We all know that. This is why you hardly see a police officer who shoots and kills somebody ever gets could be court-martialed or tried, but never convicted, because it's part of their job description. They are instructed to kill within certain parameters. You and I do not have any rights to kill under any circumstance. Self-defense, yes, but not to kill the person. But if you're in self-defense mode and the person dies, then that's in another level.
Okay. So yeah, Prof, we are here already. The president is bent on having the state police team hurriedly done. I would say that again because we know, for the many years where there has been debates back and forth with regards to state police, it's not been, transmitted from the National Assembly down to the State Assembly as quickly as it has been done this year under President Bola Tinubu. So I think that's something that gives credence to those who say it's getting hurriedly done in comparison with how it has been done in other administrations. What the you know,
to do. And I challenged him on that. I said, how can you say that? So they called me out and said, okay, it's all well and good to stand up and speak. You know, they said, what shall we do? I said, rewrite the entire document. He says, who's going to do it? I said, I'll do it. And I did it free of charge. Part of the point I made in that is start appointing Africans to go back to Africans to do United Nations work. That's how Kofi Annan became Secretary General. So you have to change things from inside. And that's how they appointed me, to be one of their experts. So when you come to what we are saying here, as far as I'm concerned, this working document they have produced is a good start.
okay.
Any child crawls before they start running 100 meters. But Nigerians want the sky to be their limit. What's wrong with the ground where you have your feet? So what we should concentrate on is how do we implement this in a very judicious manner, with integrity, with honesty, with value system, which we don't seem to have a lot these days in Nigeria.
Okay.
And this has been our problem. No matter what you put in, even if you bring the United Nations police officers, replace all the Nigerian police officers, bring UK police officers and put in there. As long as the managers at the back room continue to undermine. Look at what is happening with the military. Military generals, military personnel who've retired in the last 15 years are still being owed their pensions and gratuities. What has that got to do with documents being in Parliament? It's the individuals. Our individual attitude to work needs to change. And who's going to change it? We all have to change it. We all have to accept responsibility. You talk about insecurity. You talk about diasporans not wanting to come and do business in Nigeria because they get duped by members of their family. They spend so many years saving money. They bring it to invest it in Nigeria. You can't set up a business here without it being undermined. I tried to set up poultry. And when the eggs were coming out, all of a sudden, the women who work in the poultry developed big breasts.
Literally.
No, they developed big breasts until one accident happened and the egg hiding in there cracked. So it was the eggs that they put in on their boobs in the belief that the security officer will not dare to search them in that area. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things we have to look back, go back to our value systems. Our value system is not right. Even those who are advocating against this, if you interrogate it very well, you see that it is a particularly value system that is skewed into negativity, that is propelling that rather than a desire to have a fair and just society.
Interesting. So we should giddy up with it then. Let's have the state police bill down to the state houses of assembly, and hopefully it should be passed so that we start crawling
Exactly.
and see if we can learn how to work. So your idea of it is that the legislation might not be perfect, right? But
No legislation is perfect.
none at all.
Election of Tinubu is not perfect,
Yeah.
but he's controlling all of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yes, we should, forget about this. We believe that what we have already has failed. We should try something new, no matter the defaults that it might have at this point in time. Let's try it out and then find out
You know the
when
beauty,
it's an
the beauty of it. The
Yes.
beauty of it is that it is state policing. So what does the state governors and power bases make out of it?
Mhm.
There are even they control a lot of budgets comes into their coffers every month. That is bigger than policing
Okay.
because they can do and undo. They can get into any road and flatten the whole houses there. Is that security if their powers are not checked?
Okay.
So now you have security, state security. The issue we should be talking about is what would the security pundits, governors, what would they do with it in order to have a better society in their state? And when we start having better societies within neighborhood states, then the security of a particular environment of the country starts increasing. So if I were the state governors and their lieutenants, they should be rushing to get copies of this. Set up consultation immediately ahead of time. Don't wait until the final copy is signed. Because when the final copy comes, it will resemble the draft that you have already received. Get the draft now. Stop arguing about what Tinubu has done. He's done his job. He's not a magician. Okay? Not when there are over 200 million, a million people having different alternative ideas. What the state should do is get a copy of that, set up a committee to start looking at it, and start setting parameters and measures on how to improve on the recommendations of that document. Not only
Where it allows you to improve on it.
sorry,
Where it allows you to improve
it
on
does
because
it does
as,
allow
as a state, there are places where it might be a little bit
it
more
does
rigid.
allow you get creative.
Mm.
There was a lecture I gave to 82 Dave the other time. What we call intellectual policing. Policing is not just about standing on the road and responding to issues. There are intellectual policing syndrome that we can approach. So let's see what is in the document. Let's get a committee to study it and make it culturally appropriate to our own. Because the challenges that faces Enugu State is different from the security challenges that faces Taraba. You understand? So now the tools and the way you manage to place in Taraba State is going to be different from the one in Enugu. So let's get the document, get expert committees on that to start dissecting it and start setting it into divisions of responses.
All right.
Then the governor start bringing resources to put them there, so that by the time this document becomes law and comes to here, we are ready to receive it and ready to hit the road running.
All right.
That will be a positive way forward rather than spending our time to argue about spilled milk.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, according to the provisions of this bill, before a state police service can commence operations, it must pass a law establishing the force and satisfy the national standards prescribed by the federal legislation. We'll just go for our news break at this point. When we return, we'll open up the phone lines and have people join us in the conversation, tell us what they think, and react to some of the things that they've had you say so far. So good. We'll be right back.
You said this is mine. Yeah?
Good morning and welcome to Urban Radio 94.5 seconds. I am Choma Owasobo. The Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria has cautioned the federal government and the National Assembly against rushing the constitutional amendment process to establish state police, insisting that broader national consultations must precede any final decision on the proposed reform. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has displayed the 19 presidential candidates and their running mates ahead of the 2027 general elections. The Tertiary Institutions National Laureate Committee has announced the commencement of the 2026 National Laureate Program aimed at recognizing outstanding academic research and innovation in Nigerian tertiary institutions. In sport, the Nigeria Fencing Federation has unveiled a 12-member para squad for the 2026 Commonwealth Fencing Championships, scheduled to take place from August 9 to 14 in Atlantic City, Victoria Island. On entertainment, lawmaker representing Surulere Constituency 1 in the Lagos State House of Assembly, Desmond Elliott, have returned to acting following his defeat in the ruling All Progressives Congress APC primary election. You're up to the minute in 94.5 seconds. My name is Choma Olasonga.
Capital of Southeast.
The Urban Parliament this morning, we are discussing state police, decentralized security, or decentralizing power. We have the professor of criminology with us in the studio today.
Professor Joe Okemenan, who has spoken extensively on our conversation this morning, but it's time to open up the talk lines for our parliamentarians to call in and contribute. Our phone lines are officially open at 0916 0005945 or 0916 0004945. Sending messages to our WhatsApp line is 09128 945 945. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I greet you, Choma, in the studio.
Good morning.
Thank you, and I equally sympathize with you for the death of your father.
Thank you.
Now, said that my name is Amos Chukwu, as usual. I'm reaching you from Nkomoro. Nkomoro is located in Inyaba, Development Center of Ebonyi State. Yes, the conversation this morning. I think the group are letting pass the state police bill. I think I disagree with that assertion. Okay? Because a group interest cannot supersede the general welfare of Nigerians. For me, I think what we need now in Nigeria is a state police. Going by the wave of insecurity in the land, I think anybody that is disagreeing on that step is an enemy of Nigerians. I rest my case. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us. 0916 0004945. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Somba Choma.
Good morning, sir.
All right. All right. All right. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Hello, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Okay, good morning, Chairman. I'm your guest.
Good morning.
This topic we are discussing this morning is quite.
Your name and your location. All right, Osman.
It is every compliment to you from this case. So, what I want to say in this regard is that state police is good, and they do this service better. I want them to go due diligence. Let them make sure that all the laws, all the things are put in place to checkmate the ethics of governors and other things that might happen in the state. So let them make sure that all the rules that are regarding this, because this case is not taken, the governors they will still misabuse that, they will still misuse that the state police. Because one could say by the persons that have been given that no opportunity to handle local government elections. See how they are doing it now. Look at the issue of local government autonomy, financial autonomy for local government. Governors are still control local government funds. It's really as they like. Any amount they like, they will give it to local government chairman. Look at the rural areas. They cannot go into the rural areas. Those monies that are being cornered by governors. So any person that is beginning to take to handle this time around, let's make sure that we put all the laws in place and make sure all the things that the student laws are enacted to check whether it's not by the time they give it in the hands of governors, abuse it, and to recover that far back from them again. It's not easy as it should. Thank you.
All right, thank you for calling. Hello, good morning. 0916 0005945. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location. It's not enough to say it's not good. What's
No,
your
he
kind of
said
take?
it's wrong.
here in Enugu, we have Professor Joe Kemenam, a professor of criminology, as we look at the issue of state police. Is it decentralizing security or the centralizing power? That's our conversation on today's session of the Urban Parliament, and we're taking calls from our parliamentarians this morning: 0916 5945 or 0916 004945. Sending messages to our WhatsApp line. It's 09128 945 Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is the Little Nyaman Jr. Quickly, I don't think there is any good thing in Nigeria, but Nigerian citizens also have the demand for. Okay, I don't think there's anything good that we haven't struggled for here in Nigeria. Okay, and for the fact that we use beautiful English sometimes to make me feel like there is very trapped as people in Nigeria. Okay, we want to look at this and get a bit. But we still don't have free and fair election in the country. Okay, we have nothing. And for the fact that we have, the police not in the top priority of the Nigerian government. What in their priority is to convince the local Nigerian masses they are working on it. Government is needed to use media to distract or dissuade the average Nigerian people from demanding for the basic rights of the citizens. One will analyze our problems as Nigerians and the failure of the Nigerian government to be enabled. We must continue to remember that it's in the best interest of the leaders to hinder national progress. Because let's face it, leaders are not allowed to rule Nigeria, just agents of underdevelopment. Until we show our big leaders that we are ready to die for good governance, then we never let us have it. This police should be part of the restructured Nigeria. Nigeria doesn't even practice absolute federalism like regional government. So if the country like Nigeria practices government centralization instead of regional government, who makes you think they are interested in giving you a state police? The best we can expect from the federal government is the counterfeit state police. The one they can control, because in the end, it's not about control and was never about national development. And there's a good money.
Okay, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
John, my heart is still with you.
God bless you too.
Good morning, Karimo. Welcome.
I want to type of your spoken government, but this is that there's no way we cannot stop talking about state police. You know, I don't tell people, let us give it a try. There's no harm in trying. They said the government should manipulate it. Keep to that fact. I keep to that fact. I kidnap some people in the church and they do the rest of the dirty job they did. The first state police, so this is will be curtailed. Because the state police cannot be everywhere. Most of them are not people from this area. They don't hear Igbo. So this is, but we are concerned is fund them. If they are able to fund them very well, that is good. But I know that we have security vote, which some governors are doing nothing. They just pocket it and the US is safer. You can say they're still using part of them as no voluntary provision for those state police to be paid. They are paid from only. They provide the job. But the importance of state police cannot be overemphasized. That's what I'm saying. Let us give it a try. There's not going to be a trial. I'm joking them off. Look at them.
Karimo, thank you for joining us. We'll take a few more calls. 0916 0004945. Share your thoughts. You can send in a message on WhatsApp. We'll take a look at those messages in a bit. 09128945945. That's the WhatsApp line. 09128945945. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
This is very much.
Welcome, Babutu.
We shall do very much. You should get that. I'm thinking against it. I have all that. Look at that state police. He's not going to hear anything. Rather, he's bringing a controversial between the state police and state police. What am I saying so? The only security in this country comes by hunger. There's a lot of hunger in this country. Let me address the issue of hunger. People are doing many atrocities. The others will speed up. If they can make this country normal, things will be going normal. I know it's a good thing. They don't need are crying everywhere, any basis. Look at fuel. How much are we buying fuel? Look at cooking gas. How much are we buying cooking gas? Let us have our question. Even if you form apart from state police, form another police, which is the most stronger than another.
Killings and kidnapping in the spheres of Nigeria. Therefore, I am encouraging all the relevant agencies and institutions not to hesitate to endorse the decentralization of state policing so as to boost the anti-insecurity deterrent in our rural villages. Good morning, Auburn Parliament. Okay, good morning, Urban Radio and the guest. Right from the day the bill was transmitted to the National Assembly, I personally have also felt that the issue of state police is being rushed. It may be a good idea to establish state police, but it's clear that the Nigerian government is trying to impress the US government because of the CPC designation. There is a need to cross the T's and dot the I's as well, so that Nigeria does not, in the process of trying to solve a problem, end up creating a more severe one. Areas of conflict between the governors and the state and the police commissioners must be clearly identified amongst other possible rough patches in the intended law. Joseph texting from Enugu, and the last message here is coming from Emeka from Ababanike. Says, good morning. State police cannot solve the insecurities occurring on a daily basis here in Nigeria without changing the corrupt leaders.
Mecca from all right, thank you, Chama, for those messages. Prof, we'll get back to you because we've taken a lot of calls and we've taken messages now. Some people say we should not, in trying to solve a problem, create a bigger problem, which is a valid concern, and why some people believe that, public hearing is necessary with regards to this law. Yeah, some other people had some things to say with regards to some of the positions you took during our interrogation or interaction, rather. Some people say, it's rushed, it's hurried. How do you react to some of those who, poked holes in some of the things that you said?
Well, the thing about social commentaries and all this is you have to look at the evidence. From what you've just heard this morning, it's evidential that people have deep concern and deep knowledge about this subject of state security, and yet we're talking about being rushed. Somebody has told us when this whole debate started, and you're still calling it being rushed. Let's be pragmatic. Let's be problem solving oriented. What I would need to add on top of this is the way forward, rather than just regurgitating the argument, because all the things they're saying, is evidence that people are fully aware of this debate and need to add very little more to it. What we need to do is going forward is what I have said, obtain a copy of this draft early enough, start setting up committees to start looking at it and start looking at its cultural appropriateness to our policing needs. How does it fit our needs? And one of the things that is glaringly missing from both the documents, which I've seen a bit of it, and the commentaries, which are saying, is who gets involved when the policing comes here. And I would suggest that the local committee, just like we talk in the UK, community policing is a different interpretation. We should have villages, just like we now have the PGs and not necessarily neighborhood. Neighborhood could be part of it, but local people itself, Umada groups, being part and parcels of this policing thing, because they have access to information. One of your speakers did mention if a criminal wants to run away after committing crime, it is the local people who know the corners where they could escape from, and they will be the best person to pass on this information. Then look at how we establish a very functional and a very useful, effective communication tools, even if it's buying these 2K phones and give to local people with the numbers, the police numbers. Press on one, connect it to one button, and they would have it. So that once they see a problem, they press that one button and it connects them straight to an enforcement center that takes action in those things. Because policing work is too important to be left to the institutions.
It's our collective responsibility.
It is indeed.
Okay, so you say we should move beyond, calling out the process or the speed at which this process was done, and then
Calling people names.
calling people names. We should point out exactly what we would do now, particularly, or maybe the state houses of assembly. How would you want them to scrutinize what is coming to their desk? Because the ball now lies in their court.
Like I said, you said, obtain this document.
The states house of assembly.
Obtain a draft document.
Would you want them to do a public hearing for
obtain
yeah,
obtain the draft of this document
as an individual?
No,
Okay.
the state obtain it.
Okay.
Okay, then set up a committee. Okay, this committee will debate and tell us, because this is democratic,
Okay.
and this committee will be a reflection of both the church, the community, the native doctors, and all those people. They will come together and produce an implementation roadmap.
Okay.
Is that roadmap that we will now look at, agree or disagree with it, amend it, then implement it? Is that roadmap based on this school of thoughts, these pundits who've authorized to give us ideas? It's not just, okay, they may speak to one or two individuals, but the decision is theirs. It's not like what we heard here about, ideas was given to the president and he did not take it. It's his right not to take your advice because you're speaking from one point. It's hearing from many other points. We should respect that. We don't have respect for authorities here. And we should also bear in mind that the political class are a reflection of our society. They were selected from our kids and kin who are members, our brothers, sisters, cousins, and stuff like that. So they're not different from us. So you might be busy swearing at them, cussing them, and all this. They come from the same pedigree as you. So if you think they are doing it wrong or you know it better, put an alternative paradigm. Not everybody can criticize. Everybody can say things are wrong, but nobody can tell, not everybody can tell you what is the way forward. And it's that way forward that I'm interested in talking about.
All right, just lastly, can you paint a picture for us in terms of how much bad or poor policing has stalled our development as a nation and Africa as a whole? As somebody who, works in that sector, do you think that state police is going to accelerate maybe development for us, because security is very necessary for businesses to come and stay?
To do business because there's no court where they can go and infringe their rights and enforce their rights. There was no policing system where people can be checked. So the 25,000 military personnel we had, where the police officers were the military and all those things. So that was a classic example of how the absence of police have completely weakened a society. They were like jelly walking around. Nobody can do anything. Even land, you can't even negotiate the whole issue of land because you don't know what the new is. So coming back to Africa, we need a policing system, but we need a purified policing system.
Purified policing system.
Purified policing
When you say
system.
purified policing system, what
I mean the policing that have the right instructions, right resources, the right thinking, not cutting and nailing, ducking and diving. That's not left, right, and center. Intimidation, left, right, and center. Look at now, say the police officers were withdrawn from the executives serving them. They now formed a different guides to
Right, security.
for security. So they found alternative. So Nigeria did not suffer as a result of that policy, but there were a lot of screaming about what this is, was draining our resources, giving all those huge amounts of police personnel to serve. Yeah, even those who VIPs, even those who are completely useless. So now, when we come to here, what we need to do is a policing system that works closely with the locality.
Okay.
The local people must be empowered to work with the police. They should feel powerful, connected to the system, the enforcement system, because the issue of security is not the absence of war. You now go there to account him, to get him accountable on how they utilize those, not just please take notes on paper and pen and dump it there. No, then you cascade it. With that, you know where dangers are coming from.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you for your time on the Urban Parliament. I think it's been really insightful. Thank you so much. We hope that we get it right, from the onset. That's my prayer for Nigeria. I don't want us to get it wrong, as those who are detractors have said. If we get it wrong, it's one more problem for Nigeria to grapple with. So hopefully we get it right.
We get it wrong, we go back to drawing board.
All right.
We shouldn't be afraid to get things wrong.
I hope that by that time we still have a good board to draw from.
No, there's always a cost.
Okay.
There's always a cost for everything you do, and we must not shy away from that. It's a reality, and if you believe that, if you accept that, then you become more careful in your next move you make.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Joe Cameron, who is a United Nations expert on African development, a scholar and a researcher, adjudicator, employment tribunals England and Wales, and a former chairman of State Diaspora UK and Ireland, a professor of criminology. Thank you so much, Professor Joe Cameron, for insightful analysis on today's session of the Urban Parliament.
Thank you so much.
And to our parliamentarians, thank you for your active participation. We'll reconvene tomorrow 9 a.m. for another critical issues of national importance. Until then, keep it locked to 94.5 Urban Radio. I am Chioma Owasomba.
I'm Legacy Obiome Ozalo. Good morning.
Good morning.